So let's talk about something else. There's a lot of violence going on overseas, and we have right now what's going on in the Israel-Palestine conflict and Hamas. So we are essentially we have war in Ukraine, Russia, which is another one that's going on huge. Now we're in the Middle East. Now tell me first off of first basis, what you've heard, what you've seen, your thoughts on what's going on.
So you want me to start with Israel and Pakistan? Or
Palestine.
Sorry, Palestine, I said Pakistan.
Yeah.
We'll edit that out, right?
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, no, we just want your first outlook on what is going on.
All right.
And then we'll dive more seriously into it.
So here's my first outlook. Seeing children being massacred, seeing children being casualties of war is it is so terrible. It is so awful. And I want it to stop. I want it to stop immediately. So I don't believe one side should be wiped off the face of the earth too. There are people involved in this. I hate wars. I hate conflicts. I love peace. I absolutely love peace. And the other thing is this. I have friends that are Israeli and Jewish, and I have friends that are Palestinian and Muslim, and both sides, they are some of the kindest people I've ever met in my whole entire life. And knowing that they have family members over there too upsets me. So really, the biggest takeaway is I want the killing to stop. I want the violence to stop. I want the bombing to stop. And I'd like to see peace.
I'm of the same manner. I mean, first thing I saw was, people dying.
Yeah.
And that hurts. Especially when you have kids in the crossfires and civilians and people that didn't ask for war necessarily.
Yeah, and to see the evil side of humanity is, I've had friends that had relatives, one of which was in the Armenian genocide, and I got to hear firsthand accounts of, the horrors and the awful things that happen. And seeing it happen in 2023, you look at it's still the greatest time to be alive, but when we see human nature make that evil turn, it is so unsettling to see. And it's, what are we doing wrong right now that this is going to continue, or what are we doing wrong to where we can intervene and we can stop this? You know what I mean?
Are we on the verge of World War III?
Without a doubt. I mean, it is like watching the TV right now and seeing the updates of everything that's happening. It's almost like you're seeing the dominoes get knocked down. Yeah, and it's, okay, so everything we left in Afghanistan is now taken, divvied up against dangerous people who are now going to use this to cause harm to other people. Like, arms dealing is a big part of destabilizing a whole region.
Yeah.
So the Middle East is right now, what I'm seeing, it's an absolute powder keg that's about to explode. On top of it, you have the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And the thing that scares me the most about that is we are giving Russia more of a reason to be friends with China. And it's like, why are we creating a Russia, China, North Korea, Iran connection right now, which is only going to harm us in the long run?
Why are you building up your enemies to come together?
To me, it's a terrible strategy.
If you consider, yeah. So I do not know everything that, is why we are here discussing. We're going back and forth. You see things, you hear reports, you see reports, but at the end of the day, you don't know what to believe. A lot of things are false. A lot of things are true. It's very hard. I've seen multiple things where I've seen people say that churches were destroyed.
Yeah.
And they were not. They're, in fact, still standing. Greek Orthodox Church, they said it was destroyed. In fact, it was not. So you have a report of that. You report of babies that were slaughtered. And there was about 40 babies, supposedly, that Hamas had slaughtered, the report was, or beheaded. I'm not sure. And that ended up being false.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of false news going around. Something to be aware of. But from the reports I've seen, I believe U.S. Secretary of State Blinken will travel to Israel. Russia has made a statement saying they would like both sides to sit together for peace talks. We have water, food, electric, and more cut off to civilians in Gaza, or Palestine, whatever you classify it as. They were advised to flee and leave the area, but had their area bombed. Their only way out, the bridge, I believe. That was the report. Sweden halted aid to Palestinians. EU halted aid to Palestine, then reversed course. And we have some other reports. So we have a lot going on right now. Reports have said that special forces from U.S. have been placed on alert in a Europe country close to Israel nearby, which is concerning.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to note is August 5th, a month or two ago, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and some other countries, they had urged their citizens to leave Lebanon and the area. August 5th. That's about a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Now, Egypt intelligence also said they had warned Israel about something brewing.
Yeah.
Now, the United States, we gave Iran about $6 billion for their hostages, and then there were reports that $6 billion was used to fund the Hamas attack on Israel. Meanwhile, we're backing Israel, and we just gave them some money for their Iron Dome. And all at the same time, it seems reports are coming in that weapons we gave to Ukraine are being shown and seen on the Hamas side.
Yeah.
So, listen, I do not know what is going on specifically. I will repeat that. But what I will say, it seems like money that we have given on is being shown on both sides, whether it's artillery and weapons on the Hamas side or it's the Iron Dome on the Israel side. So it's something to keep an eye on. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on, I don't know if you've heard of these things.
No, absolutely I have. I've heard all of it. And also, too, I just think this is the way my mind works also. Israel is surrounded by, a bunch of countries who don't like them. And they've been to war before. It's already happened. I know their border is very sophisticated too,
it
right?
Is. And one of the most secure.
Yeah. So, and again, I've never been there, so I haven't seen enough to fully understand. But from my understanding, to breach what Hamas did to breach that border and the way they were able to through it, I don't know.
Very difficult.
It would have been very difficult, and Israel is always prepared for, an attack like they are. Yeah, like you said.
Well, I know people that have, been around that border.
Yeah.
And they've talked about how secure it is.
Yeah.
So, no, you're not wrong at all. It would have been very difficult. Not saying that, I'm not saying anything other than that the border is very, very secure.
Yeah.
Now, but you got to watch out. Sometimes it's very hard to know what is going on because some of these reports might be false.
Yeah.
Some of them might be real.
If there's one thing I learned from COVID is we have no reliable source of information in the media, none whatsoever.
It's very hard, and that's why I say as legacy media fades, we are just beginning.
Yeah.
Maltepes Report, bringing the world to you. Not just bringing the world to you, but hopefully bringing the world together.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. Yeah, so let's start at the beginning with this conflict, right? I believe it was Palestine area was owned or controlled by the Ottoman Empire, right?
Yeah.
1917, around World War I, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check this out. I have some notes here. Britain ended up getting in control, yes, I believe, of the area. And is it true that they promised the land of Palestine to Sharif of Mecca while also telling France something else? Is that true? You know?
I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past
at the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so you can buy it and you can buy it.
So that's what I had heard. I don't know if it's true. I'd have to do my research. And they also promised some land to the Zionist movement, right, which is obviously what is now Israel.
Yeah, post World War II.
Yeah, so a couple of different things, and then Israel didn't become a country until 1946-ish, 7-ish.
I believe so.
And that was after World War II. Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about, we talked about, was Semitism, anti-Semitism, right? We had talked about this before the show.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, just throw it out there like it's nothing, and some people lose the meaning of what it truly means.
Yeah.
Semitism includes those who speak Semitic languages, whether it be, Hebrew, Arabic, or Aramaic. And anytime you say anti-Semitic, well, you're saying they're anti all of those three. But people just throw it around for anyone that anyone says, it seems like. And that's another thing I want to clear up. I want to hear your thoughts about it real quick.
Yeah, so what annoys me about all of it is, I guess if I were to start in a real basic view, it's like we always got to find ways to keep us totally separate, right? But what I will say is, and I'm trying to phrase this as correctly as possible.
Of course.
If I look it through my ancestry, I can see some incredible things and I can see some really awful things. I have never allowed the awful things that have happened in my history, or even the great things, to stop conversations, to want to shun someone else away, to block out someone else's point. I don't know if that makes sense to you or if you understand what I'm trying to say, but lately I see the word as anti-Semitic get thrown around way too much.
I think it's similar to the term, whether it's like, oh, this person's like Hitler, or
yes,
this person's racist, when in fact that is not necessarily indicative of what they said always. And not only just that, but it also lessens the value of that comparison, whether you're comparing someone to Hitler or whatnot. And that's a shame for the people that actually suffered.
Yeah.
Because if I just say, you're like Hitler, you're like Hitler, you're like Hitler, and I just throw it around out there, well, that's not true, because that's a very specific comparison about a person that a whole world war was centered around.
Yeah.
So to throw that out there lightly like it's nothing devalues that comparison and devalues the suffering and pain that all of those people went through.
Yeah. And it's to me, it's like the ultimate gaslight too. And with saying this too, like having a history where my great grandfather was killed in Liverpool, England, during the Blitz. So they killed my great grandfather, and two of my great uncles, Kevin and Richard, were both on board British ships, worked in the engine room, and the ships got sunk by Nazi warplanes. So being a conservative and being somebody that leans to the right, it is a term that has been thrown at me, and it's like what we talked about earlier, where it's, am I going to allow this to get me so emotional? Am I going to do the same thing that bothers me with what other people do? And it's one of those things where it helped me understand, it helped me expand my thinking, and help me to like realize, like, somebody compares you to Hitler, if somebody calls you a Nazi, and you know, right, like in your heart of hearts, you know that you're none of those things. It's just amazing to me how it is allowed to be used as a way to shut people down or to stop people from making a point or getting their message across. And it's
it seems like mob mentality.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say mob mentality. And also, if you look at like the most controlling societies, I mean,
yeah,
you take, for instance, like imagine what life was like under the Taliban in Afghanistan. You know, the littlest mistake you made, you were dead. If you didn't want to be a part of this group anymore, okay, well, now we'll kill you. If you look at North Korea, the people that want to control everything, this is how it started. You have to create a path first where now I can shut you down. I can stop whatever you have to say because I feel this way about you.
Well, that's why freedom of speech is so important.
And people act like it's not.
I know.
That's the other thing. People act like
it's amazing. It's really amazing that people do not believe that freedom of speech should be allowed.
Yeah, yeah. Or saying something is hate speech, or whatever way they go about shutting down free speech. But I think Canada started like a library for podcasts. Like you have to register your podcast with like the Bureau of Internet, whatever.
I never heard of it.
In Canada. Yeah, and it's like, what do you think they're doing that for? You know what I mean? Because they want to keep a library. It's like, no, they want to monitor free speech. And if you look at our founding fathers, not only did they build one of the greatest governments ever, the reason why it was so important was because of having that freedom of speech. So important to a free society, and they knew it.
Well, think about it. If we cannot discuss openly about subjects and about various topics, well, then how can we ever come together to an agreement?
And
the problem is, nowadays, I can't say anything. Not that I necessarily can't, but many times people cannot say anything without an instant block, instant refusal to discuss or conversate and understand each other's points. And that's right there harmful to society, because if like I said before, if I and you cannot come to this table to communicate and talk about various different issues, various different problems, regardless of our stances, we can agree to disagree. But guess what? At least we'll learn something about one or the other, and we'll have an understanding of where each person is coming from, each person's shoes, each person's perspective.
You know, it's funny you say that. And when you're saying that, I think about what's it like going to the table with Xi Jinping? What's it like going to the table with Kim Jong? What's it like going to the table with Erdogan? What's it like going to the table with Trudeau? Like when you see these people, you hear what they have to say, you hear their beliefs, and whenever they're anti individual freedoms, individual rights, I would love to be in one of those rooms and hear what a negotiation's like with them when you're trying to work out a trade deal, you're trying to work. And the thing that scares me the most about government is we created a class, a group, a job title where you are a politician now. And it's people who usually lack real world experiences, like starting their own businesses, spending your money and,
knowing the value of a dollar.
You get what I'm saying? And it is on any side. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're an independent, Green Party. When we create this class of politician and we're not allowing people to get there, where it's somebody who ran a business, somebody who has a family, somebody who has to deal with the consequences of these bad decisions, being the people that are the ones who actually get elected and are allowed to influence our daily lives. I mean, this is one of the big reasons why I feel like our society just continues to go backward. Our children are not as smart as they used to be.
Education levels are down.
Our children are more unhealthy than they've ever been. Physically, mentally, mental illness in this country.
Suicide rates are higher than ever.
Yeah.
That's another point. It seems like society in all, at least here in America, society in all different aspects, we're going downhill.